If you're moving to Portland or the metro area with kids and wondering what the heck you're going to do all winter long, we're going to talk about it in this video. Stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Oregon Relocation Team coming to you from Portland, Oregon. And in this video, we're going to talk about what it's like living in Portland, especially with kids in the wintertime. I don't want to drag on about the weather. We've talked a lot about the weather in other videos. Obviously, we get a lot of rain, we get a lot of overcast. It's colder for a lot of the year, late fall into the winter, into the early spring. You get a majority of kind of gray overcast days, a lot of precipitation, and it's a little bit gloomy, it's a little bit dreary. So we're going to talk about how you can spend your time, how you can make the most of your time in the colder, darker, more dreary months, again, especially with kids, because as adults, there's a lot of things that we can get out and do. We can go to bars, we can go to events, we can go to parties. It's a little easier to get outside, bundle up, we can tough the elements a little bit more. Obviously with kids, especially younger kids, it's a little bit more difficult getting out the door, regardless of the time of year or what the weather is like. So, especially when it's dark by 4 p.m., it's cold, it's rainy, windy potentially, it can be an uphill battle. Now, if this is your first time to the channel or you've been here and you haven't already and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. Okay, so wintertime in Portland can be pretty tough. You don't want to be cooped up in your house all day long, especially with kids running around. We love them to death, obviously, but speaking from experience, it's nice to be able to get out the door from time to time. And there really is plenty to do, even in the colder months, which is that time of year where it's just a little bit harder to get outside. So, okay, so we're gonna talk more or less chronologically about what's going on this time of year, what are some of the things that you can get into. Hopefully this gives you some good ideas. There's a really good website called PDX Parent that I'll link to in the description of this video that I was able to find some cool ideas on. And I think there's a lot of other resources like that too, where you can just find things to do, things to go out and see, whether it's events and other cool activities. And real quick, if you are thinking about moving to Portland or the metro area, and if you want to talk about what the best neighborhoods and suburbs are, your timeline, your budget, how we can make everything work to ultimately help you reach your goals, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us and we can talk more about it. All right, so moving into the fall, you start to get into a lot of the autumn activities, and agritourism is a really big part of living in this area. So pumpkin patches are really big getting into October. The weather's usually pretty good though, so you're still getting a fair amount of daylight into the evening. Again, you'll still have some nice sunny days and warmer weather, but at the end of October you hit daylight savings. It starts to get dark about 5 p.m. and then there's this window between daylight savings time and up to the winter solstice, where by the start of winter it's getting dark at like 3:30 p.m. or you're at least experiencing dusk around that time, and by 4:30 it feels like it's 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. So, this is really kind of the toughest stretch from maybe Thanksgiving or so, a couple weeks after daylight savings, maybe through mid to late January, where it's getting dark really early in the day. It's dark in the morning, and again, it just feels pretty dreary. But once we get to Thanksgiving, pretty much that first weekend right after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, a ton of people are gonna go out to the farms to get their Christmas trees. So right out of the gate, you have this cool, fun activity that you can get into, and there are so many Christmas tree farms and Christmas tree lots, but Christmas tree farms in particular, all around the Portland metro area within an hour in any direction. And this is like a whole day activity. They have hot chocolate and hot cider, and you can get like s'mores kits, and they usually have like a little farm store. There's going to be like a petting zoo in a lot of cases. There's going to be different games and activities and things that again, especially are really good, really fun for the kids. So getting out to a farm at least once this time of year is a really fun thing to do. And then you're really right into the holidays, right? So if we look at the month of December, Christmas lights, holiday lights, decorations are a really fun thing to get out and see, and there are countless opportunities to do so. And really that starts with the Christmas tree lighting at Pioneer Square, downtown Portland. So Pioneer Square is the city block right in the middle of the city. It's kind of like Portland's living room, and there's like this 30-foot plus tree that they put there. You know, throughout the year at Pioneer Square, they do different events and activities and things like that, seasonally, whatever it may be. But you know, the Christmas tree that's there, and then the Christmas tree lighting, it's a really fun event. So whether you attend the Christmas tree lighting or you just go down there and see it at some point, that's a pretty cool thing to do. And then there's a ton of opportunities to get out and see Christmas lights. Probably the most unique in Portland, maybe not unique to Portland, there's probably places like this around the country, but is a street called Peacock Lane, which is in Laurelhurst, this really cool old historic neighborhood in southeast and northeast Portland. And Peacock Lane, all of the houses go all out with their lighting display. So that I think formally runs the last couple weeks of December, or the couple weeks leading up to Christmas at least. But you know, they're probably going to have those up early December, so you can just drive up and down the street. But when they do more of the formal event, there's like horse and carriage, and there's like, you know, Santa Claus is there, and they got hot cocoa, and you can actually get out and walk around, and it's this big thing. But Peacock Lane, super cool, really kind of a must-do this time of year, especially with kids. And there are a handful of other residential lighting displays that you kind of have to just maybe know about. This PDX Parent website that I mentioned came out with an article recently actually mapping kind of through South Beaverton and Bull Mountain and Tigard, a bunch of different checkpoints to see really cool Christmas light displays that just people do voluntarily. There's a ton of other formal events too, like PIR, Portland International Raceway. You can drive through a big Christmas light display. Oaks Park, which is a little amusement park in southeast Portland on the Willamette River, they're doing a Christmas lights display this year. I think that's a newer thing to Oaks Park. Zoo Lights is definitely a must-do. Now, the Oregon Zoo, right in the West Hills in Southwest Portland, you can actually get an annual membership to the zoo, which if you have kids, it's an awesome thing to do. Super affordable. It's anywhere from like $120 to maybe a couple $100 for the year, depending on how many people are in the membership. So if it's like one parent, and that will contribute to the variation in price. But we have a really good zoo here, and that is, I mean, again, if you're moving to Portland with kids, that's definitely something to have on your list. But every year they do zoo lights, so the whole place is decked out. I mean, you walk the same route that you would if you were just going to the zoo to see the animals, but you go at night, and there's this really awesome light display throughout the entire property. And the Oregon Zoo has this train that goes around the property, which you can do anytime you go to the zoo, but it's so cool during zoo lights. Again, definitely something you do. It is an extra maybe $4 or $5, you know, for a ticket to ride the train, but definitely something you got to do this time of year with kids. And there's plenty out in the suburbs as well. There's a drive-through Christmas light display in Hillsborough, the Clackamas County Fairgrounds in Canby. There's some more religious-leaning light displays, like at the Grotto in northeast Portland, way out Sandy. And there's a church, I think it's like kind of deep southeast Portland, but the Christmas display, it's called Christmas on the Campground. I'll show this to you. It looks pretty cool. It's not something I've attended, but you know, this looks pretty awesome. I mean, whether you're attending it for more of the religious aspect or not, but either way, there's a ton of opportunities to get out and see a ton of different light displays, ranging anywhere from basically free to something like zoo lights. I think it's like $30 a head. So some of these can get a little pricey, but definitely some really fun activities that the kids love this time of year. Now, you know, once the holidays are over, we're just properly into winter, and you know, you kind of start to have your eye on, you know, spring break into April, the weather starting to turn a little bit, and ultimately getting into the spring. But there's a ton of stuff to do indoors and stuff that's available year round, but really comes in handy this time of year. So, you know, whether it is different plays or shows that you can go see, there are kids museums, there's a ton of indoor play areas, kind of like Montessori style, where you have these different rooms with you know, play kitchens and building blocks, and you know, choo-choo trains that you can play with, and all kinds of stuff like that. that, you know, these places have monthly memberships too, like I was saying with the zoo. They are a little pricier, but it really can come in handy, you know, when the weather's not so great. And there's also community gyms and rec centers. I mean, a lot of these rec centers, I know, especially like in Washington County, where you have Tualatin Hills Parks and Rec Department, THPRD, they do a ton of like 4, 6, 8-week classes that are like 30 or 40 bucks, like art classes and little gym classes and things like that. So there really is a lot to do. And things, you know, that are offered for kids. Again, helping you get out of the house, but still stuff that you can do indoors. And you know, it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, keep an eye on the forecast, and you can find plenty of opportunities to go out for a neighborhood walk, you know, even to go on a hike and really spend the day outside. You know, there's a ton of parks in the area, so whether you're in Portland proper or anywhere in the suburbs, there's gonna be a ton of parks that you could either walk to or drive to within 5 or 10 minutes. So there's a ton of green spaces and outdoor spaces that you can access year-round, which is great. But even in the winter, even in the coldest, wettest, dreariest part of the year, there really are plenty of sunny days and a lot of opportunity to still get outside this time of year. You know, whether it is going to the park or going on hikes, maybe driving out to the beach, doing neighborhood walks, or going out to the zoo like we were talking about. There really is a lot of opportunity to spend time outside, and you know, you don't necessarily have to be inside all the time or hunkered down at home, you know, for 3 or more months. Okay, the other big thing to keep on the radar is snow, because kids love snow days. I love snow days. You know, they become more and more of an inconvenience, you know, the older you get. But obviously with kids, there's nothing like getting out, doing a little bit of sledding, snowball fight, walking around in the snow. And we don't get snow all that often. So I think that does make it a little more special around here. It's not like we have days and week stretches every year reliably of snow on the ground. So we really don't have all that many years with much snow on the ground at all. In fact, only 3 of the top 40 snowiest years have been in my lifetime. And there's also, you know, snow as precipitation versus snow actually accumulating on the ground. There's plenty of times, plenty of years, you know, we get snow falling, but it's just not cold enough to stick, you know, to start accumulating. So, you know, it really is pretty special when we can get some good snow accumulation on the ground. Now, one thing is that your experience with snow and ice too is going to be different depending on your elevation. So Portland in the metro area has a ton of areas that are, you know, 500, 600 feet, and there's a noticeable difference around that 500 foot mark where you might get more snow accumulation. If you're at that elevation, you're likely to be kind of on a hill, and so if it is snowy or icy, it's going to be harder to get to and from your home. Whereas if you're at a lower elevation, you might not get as much snow accumulating. But it might be a little bit easier to get around too, you know, when it is icy or snowy. So there definitely is a trade-off there. But again, I mean, if we just look at the last 10 years, you know, last year, almost 11 inches of snow. That is pretty high in terms of an average. But then 2.6 inches, 14 inches, that's also pretty high. So a couple of pretty snowy years in the last 5 years, but then 2020, half an inch, 2019, 7 inches, 6.6 inches, 9.4 inches, 4.1, you know, barely anything in 2015, 7 inches in 2014, you know, half an inch in 2013. So if you look at this, you know, especially in the last 20, 25, 30 years, there's just a few years where you get like 10 inches or more. And it's really around that 6 inch mark, you know, that seems to be where you can like kind of see a blanket of snow. You know, maybe 4, 5, 6 inches, you know, that you can get outside and play in the snow a little bit. You know, really anything less than that, you know, it's going to melt quicker, and you know, maybe it turns into ice or slushy, and it's just, you know, really not all that enjoyable. I mean, you need like some decent snow accumulation to be able to get out and have a proper snow day. But you know, obviously, if you're moving to Portland with kids, you know, what to expect as far as snow days is definitely a big consideration. So if you're moving to Portland with kids and you're thinking, what am I going to do all winter long? Really nothing to worry about. There is plenty to get out and do, whether it is seasonal activities specifically or just a lot of cool indoor activities and things that are available to you. And again, there is still plenty of opportunity to get outside, enjoy nature, get fresh air. Even in the winter, we get enough sunshine, I would say, to get us through. And then obviously, really May through October is pretty unbeatable. So again, if you are thinking about moving to Portland, if you want to talk more about what it's like living here with kids, or if you want to talk about different neighborhoods, different suburbs of Portland, put together a game plan, that is what we're here for. Give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us and we can talk more about it. If this video is helpful, make sure to hit the like button. That helps us out a lot. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. As always, we really appreciate you watching. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.